Hey everyone, this is the last video of our series Gamed. We started in January with the aim of making 6 games in 6 months. And here we are, at the end of July with 6 games finished and lots of lessons learned. It has been a long journey, not without its struggles, but we made it. And we are so proud to present to you our 6th and final game, Proximity. Proximity is a puzzle game where you connect the dots, so to speak. And the puzzle comes from which dots connect and which ones don't. Well, it is a game where you find a way to fit all the dots on the board, and the dots connect to each other based on some rules. But first, how did we even come to the idea of making this game? The short answer is with much trial and error. The long answer is, well, when we started brainstorming on ideas for this game, we had one clear idea that we knew we wanted this game to have. A lot of levels. Throughout the previous 5 games, we never really explored making a large volume of levels. This time we really wanted to see how that would turn out. In our initial conversations, we thought about making a procedural game or a tower defense game. But thinking about the time that we had, we decided a puzzle game probably will fit the bill best. Puzzle games can have small and large levels and usually have multiple strategies that the player can optimize for. And the balance problem that a lot of other genres tend to have, which require a lot of playtesting, is not something that one needs to worry about in puzzle games. Over the course of making Gamed, we have found that having an early decision around the genre of the game lets us go deeper and explore a lot of different ideas within the genre. Our initial brainstorming led to us thinking that we wanted to explore the ideas of combination and how colors connect to each other. So once we had our first discussion, we just took our time and tried a few different ways in which we could be creating puzzles using combination and color matching. Both of us tried to make a few different levels with these basic ideas and then got the other one to play. Having each other as the tester helps us both understand the depth that the mechanic can provide, not just as a creator, but also as a player. We felt like there were a few different mechanics that were interesting, including a node-based system, like node-based development, and one where you place pieces on a predefined board, where the relationships with the pieces in proximity are governed by certain rules. It is this point where the constraints of a month of time play such a critical role for us. We knew that we would need to spend considerably more time trying to make the node-based game a reality, while this color and shape proximity matching game was a lot more mechanically figured out from the get-go. Once we settled on this, we started making more levels. And also started with the development of the game, because in a game like this, the easiest way to learn and understand is to make the levels. Both Charu and I have very different ways in which we approach level making, which ended up being a massive boon for this game because it makes the game feel a lot more varied. And even with the high volume of levels, it wouldn't turn monotonous. We also knew that as interesting as the color placement mechanic was, we still needed to add more depth to the system, and that can only come with experimentation. Proximity has a bunch of different mechanics and a few different strategies that we needed to let the player understand and explore so that they could actually have fun with the game. Almost all our mechanic introduction levels are simple, something that the player can easily understand with very few pieces, but they all build upon each other. Generally, with smaller levels, the focus is to have a singular idea or concept that the player is able to understand and play with. With larger levels, we wanted to make sure that the player is actually being tested on their mastery of the mechanics. While we decided to go with the board mechanic, we also made a tiny change to it. At the time, it didn't seem like it will become a mechanic in itself, but basically, we took the board, which was a grid in the original idea, and made it a line and point based system. There are lines that are connected to each other, and they have locations that the dots can be placed on. This made the shape of how the lines are connected an important way to structure the levels. In the first set, we made about 14 levels with just the color matching mechanic. A good mix of small and large levels, and shared it with a few friends and family for playtesting. What we learned from this playtest was that A. The color matching logic was not a basic understanding that everyone had, and B. The technique to club the same colored pieces together might have been obvious to us. Rather, that was how we thought the players will play, but they ended up playing quite differently. This was also making the difficulty curve of the game different from how we would have predicted. So this led us to doing 2 different things. We decided to add an explanation to the basic rules of the game to the player. Many of the players felt like they had to note down the rules manually down in the playtest. We also decided to restructure the level order and added some more levels that forced a grouping technique so that it was also a strategy that the players understood. While this can seem like it forces the player's hand, but ultimately having a better grasp on the game mechanics leads to a more fun experience for the players. After this, all that was left was to add levels with shapes and double bonds and fixed position pieces. Of course, also to make the 40 levels. And with this, we present to you Proximity. It is a simple game that you can take an evening to play and to solve all these simple colorful puzzles. The link for it is in the description and we hope you have a blast playing it. Game was an amazing project to undertake and neither Charu nor I have worked on something like this before. We are super duper proud of all of the games that we have worked on over the course of this year and we learned so much from each and every game that we created. We have grown as creators, as collaborators, and as humans. Through this time, it would definitely not be fair if we also didn't mention the massive support we received from our mom, who was always patient, present, listening to our cribs and complaints, and providing us with the motivation that we really needed in those moments. Our brother Devanshu helped out in many ways with all of our games, giving moral support, playtesting feedback, and a lot of tiny technical help to both Charu and I. And of course, alongside with Varun, he also worked with us on I Quit. And we have to thank so many of our friends who were constantly encouraging and inspiring us to keep on going. While making all of these games was in no way easy, we definitely think that it was the best way to learn and grow in a short time period. To anyone looking to be a game creator, we would really encourage you to try and make games on a deadline. We hope you have enjoyed these games and learned something valuable from the videos. Now we will take a bit of break because it was a little bit exhausting amounts of work to do. But hopefully we will come up with something even more exciting. The links for all of our games are in the description. Thank you so much for coming along on this journey with us. Hope to see you again sometime.